Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy episode 459 for the week of July 7th? Yeah, that sounds right. July 7th, 2020. My name is Ryan Higgins, who's here with me this week.
Brock Sager.
See, it doesn't work so well because we do like a thing that like takes out like dead air and silence and stuff. So there's a long dramatic pause before that sigh while I wait for Toby to remember that we're actually recording a podcast and then say his name.
Tobete.
There he is.
And Charlie.
Bring it up the rear. Before we start our episode, we got a letter here from our good friend Tyler Willits.
Love that guy. That guy's awesome.
Now, Tyler in the past during convention season has been kind enough.
He's too kind. Not just
too kind to snag us some stuff from convention, some autographs, some cool little swag. So this year, here is his letter. He said, despite the craziness of this year, I'm happy to be able to send you some gifts as a thank you for the podcast. C2E2 is basically the only convention that happened this year. I was actually supposed to go, but I got so insanely sick that I had to cancel last minute. Fortunately, it was not COVID. And while it was sad not to go, as it's the only C2E2 I've missed in the 11 years it's been happening, it was probably good with the widespread nature of COVID. That said, I actually have been stockpiling comics in preparations of situations like this. So now on to the fun parts. Kevin, and we'll do Kevin and Bryce here first because they're not here. Kevin, if you were listening to this,
a letter?
What's that?
It's more than just a letter?
Yeah, he sent us stuff
again. Wow.
He had been prepping for a time where he missed something, so he had some backup.
I am legitimately amazed at I've been preparing for a day that I wouldn't have something to send you, so I have something to send you.
Oh, wow. Tyler's the man. He prepares.
So for Kevin will get this to you next time you're in the shop. I have a copy of Avengers 213, The Court Martial of Yellow Jacket. This is signed to Kevin by Bob Hall, the artist on the title at that time. I got at the Indiana Comic Con in 2019. There was a bunch of the older guys, so it's fun to get those signatures.
Nice.
To Bryce, my dearest Bryce, I missed you on the podcast. I'm excited for when you return, and we do got to get him back on here again. Anyway, your gift is Uncanny X-Men 505, the Greg Land variant. It's signed by Greg Land and Terry and Rachel Dodson. I believe a few years ago, I actually sent you one of the Uncanny X-Men books around this number with Greg Land's signature as well. Hope this completes the list. To Toby, for you, I have a copy of Scarlet Spider #1 featuring Kane.
Hell yeah.
Signed by Ryan Stegman from one of the C2E2s a couple years ago. I assume you've read this story, but if you haven't, I thought it was great.
No, I actually love that story. The trades are insanely hard to get now. So
for the more recent Scarlet Spider book?
Yeah, I actually really dropped the ball on that one. The trades are insanely hard to get now. I've been kind of price watching them, and it may be a while unless they come out with a nice omnibus or epic collections.
Yeah. So
and if they do that, then all the previous trades will just go on the used shelf. And that's how it goes.
They're going to be dirt cheap at that point. Yeah, it's whatever the best version is always insanely expensive now.
Yep.
I am unable to call him Scarlet Spider. I always call him Scarlet Spider-Man. I have, even when I'm looking at it, I go Scarlet Spider-Man, even though it's a Scarlet Spider. I just cannot call him.
Or Tyler.
Me.
Oh.
This is me.
Really?
I always call him Scarlet Spider-Man. I don't know why.
Weird.
Yeah. For Brock,
yes,
I have X-Men War #7, signed by Robert Venditti.
Nice.
I got this, like most others, at a C2E2 one year. I actually went to the X-Men War Valiant panel so I could sit through it to get to the Marvel panel afterwards. Venditti, at the end of the panel, was just signing books and handing them out for free. I ended up buying the first 2 trades as I did enjoy it and wanted to support him for doing such a nice thing.
Yeah.
So that's there for you. Big Valiant fan. To Charlie. For you, I have a copy of Green Lantern #50, signed by Jeff Johns, Doug Monkey, and inker Christian Alamy. This is an ace in the hole for you. I've held on to for years. They were all at C2E2 many years ago, and it's one of the last times I recall Jeff Johns going to conventions.
Wow.
Yeah, he doesn't really do cons that much.
And that's a great book, too.
Yeah. All right, so I'll wrap up here to Ryan. You'll have to talk to Brock this year about what you were sent, unless, of course, you opened it like a kid finding his Christmas present, like you did last year. So, to be honest, we got 2 packages, and they were both sitting there, and I saw that it was to Brock, but it was from Tyler. It was with a stack. There were the two boxes, both from him. So I open it and I see there's a letter inside, and I pull out the letter, and it was like, something about Ryan. Don't let Ryan read this or something. I was like, oh shit, oh that's right, I did this last year. So then I put it immediately back in the box, and I did not look.
So I have a letter this year.
Well, let me finish Tyler's letter, and then we'll do that one. He says, once again, thank you all for the podcast, and it was a crazy time, and hope everyone is staying safe. We're staying safe over here, wearing masks and rarely leaving our house. I found a renewed joy of comics as I've finally been going through the bunch of omnibuses I've been meaning to read for years.
Nice.
I finished FF by Byrne, She-Hulk by Byrne. As per suggestion, I've now started Doom Patrol by Morrison. Hopefully the world, especially America, gets through it together and I can go to C2E2 next year. I'm running out of my safety stock to send you guys. Thanks again and stay safe. Tyler Willits. So Tyler's a big omnibus guy. And you know what's funny, just not to get too off topic here, but I did talk briefly to someone at Marvel, and I was like, dude, what is going on with the omnibuses? And they're like, we have no idea. They're selling out way faster than anything is sold out before. So like that She-Hulk omnibus, they're aware. Marvel is aware. Everything is selling out.
I hope he got it at least, because he's a huge She-Hulk fan.
Yeah.
I mean, watching online, that drought of
right
nothing coming out definitely sort of kicked things up a little bit, even in sort of the groups that Toby and I are in. Like, people post the second the stock shows up on like various sites, being like, here's the link, go order it, and within 2 hours it's just gone. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's lots of groups like that now that are just when they thought 1,000 copies was enough before, they would just trickle out. Now it's 900 of those go in a half an hour when they're posted to these sites.
What I'm wondering, just because this is like the first time when the first stuff came out, it caught everybody off guard. But now that the price has started to creep up on a lot of these, there's a strong feeling, at least on my side, that you're starting to see sort of the scalpers and speculators get involved.
Yeah.
Because all this is selling out, which just feeds the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really annoying because I really want that She-Hulk to come into print.
I keep thinking more of this stuff will just go right back to the printers at some point, because there's nothing to stop additional copies coming to the market.
Yeah, this is the problem, though, that DC and Marvel had. Actually, sorry, that reminds me, I got to pull up another topic that I forgot to throw on our list this week, because there is literally only so much room for the printers, so they do have just, there's a priority for the new stuff, so reprints, they slot in when they can, right? There's not unlimited printing companies out there, so yeah, the reprints happen, it's just they're slow to happen. The best stuff will always come out in a new format or get reprinted somehow. But
well, I mean, before it goes to a official new solicited printing, I'm amazed that like the She-Hulk seems to be gone. I really expected to see like restock show up for that within a month.
Yeah, I don't know.
That thing sold out within a day, like literally a day for a hardcover book. That's insane.
And I guess that's part of the reason why I'm curious, because there are various omnibuses that came out while stuff wasn't shipping, like the Wolverine omnibus that's going to be coming out again in a few months. And that's part of the reason why I figured there's got to be a second round of printing scheduled for some of this stuff, just because like that Wolverine omnibus hit a lot of the bookstores and basically, from what I understand, sold out, which is why they're not able to get it to comic shops till like 3 months later or something like that.
And now, Brock, you have a letter from Tyler.
I have.
For me.
I have something that you opened and put a nice slit in the paper.
But I didn't look at it. I read it and went, oh, this is the thing that I can't look at, and I put it away. I promise I didn't read it.
All right, so he goes, Brock, I have entrusted you with Ryan's gift this year. He has proven that despite separate packaging and a note that says not to open, he cannot be trusted. Ryan must have been difficult for his parents during Christmas. Hopefully Leanne has figured it out.
Oh, Leanne's an asshole. She puts my present, like my Christmas present, in like no, it's like September, and just leaves it there, taunting me for months.
Oh, it's so awesome. And anyways, he has a bit of a story with this one.
Let's hear it.
So in 2011, he had finally graduated college, and he took the victory lap of a fifth year, and moved to Indiana to live with his girlfriend, now wife. They rented an apartment in this old brownstone-style complex that was built in the 1920s. It looked really cool, but not the best to live in the modern era. One day he was leaving for work and walking out the door when a stranger approached him.
Did he write this in like the third person or something?
No, I'm
Just read his letter.
No, but then it sounds like...
What the hell? What?
It's always weird.
Artistic take on it?
No, I'm actually literally just reading it and changing the eyes, but okay. One day I was leaving for work and walking out the door when a stranger approached me. He said he was a location scout for a commercial company and had asked me if I lived in this building. I told him I did, and he had handed me his card. He was looking for buildings like this and asked me if he and his camera guy could go inside. If he chose the place, he would pay us for the use. Like an idiot, I said sure. My wife is there, and I'm leaving for work. So I let two strange men into my apartment with my wife alone. Fast forward a couple weeks, and my wife and I are being put in a hotel downtown Indy, got paid a few $1,000s, and our apartment was being featured in a commercial for Visa, promoting the upcoming Indianapolis...
Brock, I'm going to stop you right there. Tyler, as a former guy that worked on movies, as a guy that was a grip on movies, never, ever let anybody film in your house, because generally it gets trashed.
So Visa's promoting the upcoming Indianapolis Super Bowl. It's weird sending a link to a video in paper, but here you go. He sent a YouTube video. He says their apartment is featured a grand total of 7 seconds in the commercial. 30 seconds at 31 to 36, 40 to 41, and at the minute mark at 139 to 140. So how this gift came about is when they came to my apartment afterwards to repaint the walls. The crew guy had seen my comic books, so we got to talking. Turns out he was a set painter for movies as well. Worked on a bunch of stuff, including The Dark Knight and Man of Steel. He ended up giving me his visitor's badge for when he worked on Man of Steel. Then, going by the name of Autumn Frost was the code name for the movie.
Autumn Frost?
Autumn Frost.
Okay.
In the font of Action Comics logo to hide from the paparazzi.
Nice.
This was a year before the movie came out. I thought it would be nice to give to you, Ryan. I know you really like this movie, and boy, did I hate that movie. So rather than keep it as a collectible, I thought you would enjoy this as an actual fan of the movie and not, like me, a jaded comic book reader who didn't like a Superman movie. It was one of the weirder times and experiences of my life, but it all goes to show that it literally pays to talk to strangers. Thanks, Tyler. So you have an official visitor's badge.
That's awesome.
From the movie for Man of Steel.
Oh.
And it's called Autumn Frost.
That's super cool. Autumn Frost. Cool. Nice. I would probably looked at that font and been like, they're using the Action Comics font on this. That's super weird. Yeah. What? Autumn Frost.
Tyler, I hope
awesome.
Your house apartment is in good piece, in a good place, or put back together, man.
No, I don't think they live in that apartment anymore.
Well, it also sounds like they were nice enough to come back and repaint after whatever they did.
Yeah, they might have some bigger budgets than what we had because we destroyed some houses on purpose.
So I actually remember I went and watched the Visa commercial and saw like the little snippets with his apartment, and I actually remember the commercial vaguely for like that time in that period because I was like, oh wait, yeah, they embarrassed this guy by making him wear a helmet of the opposing team because it's the one where he gets like all these Super Bowl tickets to hand out to friends or whatever. So yeah, it was pretty cool. But now you have some Man of Steel memorabilia, Ryan Higgins, provided to you by Tyler Willits.
That's fantastic.
One of our great listeners.
That's great.
And you still open the package.
Thank you, Tyler.
That's awesome.
Is
that going next to your lost memorabilia?
It will. I will, totally. We're going to stick with movies here and movies and TV shows here because of some big comic book news around our good old movies and TVs. Lots of drama this week too. So let's get to this stuff. First, this is just a case of I just didn't put on the list and I somehow forgot to talk about it. We of course have to talk about passing of another person related to comic books pretty heavily, and that is Joel Schumacher, who died at the age of 80. A couple of weeks back. We did not talk about this. I don't know how I missed talking about it. Of course, the director of the highly underrated Batman Forever and also Batman and Robin.
Steaming pile of garbage that was Batman and Robin.
And obviously, it's he's a great director. Did a lot of other stuff. More than Batman, but Batman obviously. Some of the bigger movies he was involved with, and I will defend Batman Forever. I think it gets a really bad rap.
No, I like Batman Forever. Is just it brought back that camp that the Batman 66 just had, and it was Batman from the 60s
a little bit, not fully.
It was still not fully, but
I actually recently rewatched that with my kids.
Nice,
because I'm like, hey, this is randomly on HBO Max. I'll watch it. And I have to say, the weirdest thing about that movie for me was not the shift in tone and everything else. It was realizing, wait, how did I forget that Two-Face is purple in that movie?
Yeah. Now, the funny thing here, and it's even better, I guess, actually, that we waited for this because we now have multiple things to talk about here. We all know about the Snyder Cut, and we've heard about the Ayer Cut. Did you know there's a Schumacher cut? There's apparently 107
of a new movie or of his old one.
No, there's 170-minute long cut of Batman Forever. It's nearly an hour longer than the original version.
I'll watch that one. If you said Batman and Robin, I'd be like, nope, I'm good.
Much more focus on Bruce Wayne's childhood trauma, and more Bruce Wayne stuff, basically. A lot.
Batman Forever Ever.
More darker stuff.
Forever Ever.
Now, I don't know if we'll ever see this, but if these apparently these director cuts for the superhero movies are seemingly pretty big. So
hashtag release the Schumacher.
It's cut. Already on Twitter. Already been on Twitter. So let's see if they put this out. I think Batman Forever deserves a slightly higher place than most people give it credit for. Batman and Robin obviously is not great, but Batman Forever I like. Something about Jim Carrey. I mean, he's really not playing the Riddler, but it's a fun role, and that is like peak Jim Carrey. Like he is just.
Yeah,
he was so famous at that point, and
it was Tommy Lee Jones. It was a great cast of characters in that movie, and it was they just had a lot of fun with it. Not to mention, the soundtrack, was amazing. Really
good music, yeah.
Like that "Kiss by a Rose" song, everybody knows.
Yeah, big soundtrack, yeah.
So I'll say this: I actually enjoyed Batman Forever when it came out. Like everybody else, I really despised Batman and Robin. However, when I recently rewatched it, I don't know if Charlie had the same feelings, but man, that movie did not age well. And I'm sorry to say.
Which one?
Usually I can enjoy it, Batman Forever.
Oh, it's...
Usually I can enjoy it for what it was, but that one I had a hard time with, man.
I mean, it's not going to stand up to the test of the MCU stuff or Dark Knight, but I still think it's a fun movie. I've seen it, I've seen it at the store in recent years, not too long ago, and I think it's.
I just love, as you say, you've seen it at the store because I'm just picturing it with the sound off because that's how you see most stuff at the store.
No subtitles. No subtitles.
It's fun.
So when you say you've seen it at the store, you mean you've literally. I've seen it.
No, I think I turn the audio on occasionally.
On the screen.
So is Batman Forever Schumacher's everybody's favorite Schumacher movie?
Between the two?
Well, just in general, I'm asking.
Oh, the favorite movie he did? Oh no, Lost Boys is great. Lost Boys is funny. I haven't seen that movie in forever, but I used to watch Lost Boys a bunch. I really like Lost Boys. I like Falling Down. This is
Falling Down
another
was really
one.
good.
You ever see 8 Millimeter? That's a weird movie.
It's weird, but it was really good.
I think my favorite of his is actually a Phone Booth.
Did we see Phone Booth?
I really like Phone Booth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't remember.
I saw 8 millimeter.
Yeah.
I was really impressed with that one.
Yeah.
Just because
I know it, but I don't think
Come
I
on.
saw Phone Booth.
Brian, he did
Was
St.
Kiefer
Elmo's
Sutherland
Fire.
in that one also?
Sorry, say that again.
I'm trying to remember with Phone Booth if Kiefer Sutherland was in that also. If I'm remembering
I
that
believe so,
movie. Yeah.
I actually think he was, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I gotta have to look it up, but I just thought it was brilliantly done because most of the movie is literally in that phone booth.
Yeah.
It was interesting to watch.
God, you know what? Maybe
Which I
I
don't-
did see it. Like that. I know. Like I have like memories of watching that movie.
So it's Forrest Whitaker
Yeah.
and Kiefer Sutherland. Yeah, they're both in it. I need to rewatch that. I actually thought that was really well done.
Come on, Ryan. He did St. Elmo's Fire.
I never saw. Well, I may have seen that.
The Client, A Time to Kill. He was doing all those. Oh God, what's that? Who wrote those books?
No idea.
John Grisham books. Yeah.
So yeah, I think Joel Schumacher gets definitely a bad rap. He's just good movies, and his Batman I think is a little bit better than people give it credit for. I think people are a little softer on it now. I think they were just really they hated it after the
Wow, he
Tim Burton
directed some episodes of House of Cards.
I kind of feel like some of the hatred for Batman and Robin spilled back on to Batman Forever.
Right, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think it has to do with just like because the cat, like most of the cast carried over except for they changed it to Clooney for the Batman role, but the rest of the cast virtually went over. Right? I didn't see the movie, so
I mean, it's basically, if you mean from like Burton to Schumacher, it was really just like Commissioner Gordon and Alfred.
What movie didn't you see?
I never seen Batman and Robin.
Oh, okay. Who came over for that?
Yeah, because it was I can't remember his name that played Robin. Changed. It was the same guy.
Yeah,
right.
Donald.
Yeah, in terms of like the Schumacher stuff, everything kind of
just Batman changed. Yeah.
Just okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was a complete. I mean, it's a real sequel to Batman Forever.
Yeah.
And then
Okay.
Alfred was the same guy in all four movies.
Alfred and Gordon were the same in all four. They bring Alicia Silverstone. I mean, the villains are all different, obviously, but I mean, the villains are different in every movie. They don't have any carryover. Yeah. Just kidding. Batman and Robin's. I've said this 100 times. If you just think of it as like a live action '66 movie, it's actually really good. If you think of it as a sequel to the Tim Burton stuff, it's not good. So it just depends on how you're looking at it. Let's go to modern day DCU movies. We all know Zack Snyder and his kind of halfway through aborted Justice League was finished up by Joss Whedon, just off the Avengers movies, and obviously possibly a great person to wrap up the filming of Justice League. But according to Ray Fisher, who was Cyborg, he withdrew he retracted a statement he made from Comic-Con where he called Joss Whedon a great guy, a good person to clean up and finish the movie. This was on Twitter. A couple days later, he tweeted, Joss Whedon's on-set treatment of the cast and crew of Justice League was gross, abusive, unprofessional, and completely unacceptable. And then today, he said, I am still very much under contract, and I am still very much under a non-disclosure agreement. So I've got to be very careful about what I say and how I say it. Otherwise, I can get sued into oblivion. Saying he cannot give more specifics on this situation with Joss Whedon. So,
I guarantee if he checked his statement with WB ahead of time, he wouldn't have even been able to say that.
That first one, yeah. So, Joss Whedon's been a couple times in the past, got knocked sometimes for some stuff from his ex-wife, and it's, I don't want to go like full Me Too on this, but I don't know. I feel like there's still not the mountain of evidence against Joss Whedon. But the question here with Ray Fisher is, we talked about this with some other people. is this a case of Joss Whedon's just a hard ass and doesn't take shit on a set and is maybe a little too aggressive with his actors, or is this a case of he's actually a super problematic guy, which his ex-wife seems to imply. So these are, again, like other things other problems we've had, where we've seen, I think we talked about the first part of this where he had made some comments about Whedon. It's like, you got to kind of back it up a little bit here. We need more context.
So for me, the fact that his post was just what I would call sort of the buzzwords that spur a lot of assumptions on what some of that would mean kind of bothered me without specifics, because it lets people create their own context of what was being sort of communicated there.
Exactly.
One thing that I was kind of happy, though, even though it's hearsay at best, is the fact that Kevin Smith talked about the conversations he had with the FX guys who worked on that, also worked on, I think it was him when he was visiting the Rise of the Skywalker set. And what he heard there was, yes, there was a lot of animosity because Joss Whedon kind of came in as what you guys created with Snyder was crap, and we have to fix it all and redo this and change this. And going in and telling people what they did was crap isn't necessarily the best environment to work under.
And I doubt that's even really Whedon's choice, right? I mean, This is what he was hired as, a job he was hired to do.
But the second statement about being enabled by Jeff Johns and John Berg made more context to me, where if they brought him in to basically say, what we have right now is crap, we need you to fix it, and he approached it that way, I could understand the context of the statement a little bit more about it being a toxic atmosphere and like that kind of thing to work under. So that's the closest we've gotten, at least that I've seen, to any actual context on what he may be referring to.
Well, I think that's the difference, though. Again, it's not like Joss Whedon runs Warner Brothers. He was hired for a job. These are actors doing a job. Whether they liked what Zack Snyder was doing or not is not really their call, right? I mean, it might suck to have everything you've done kind of thrown away, but again, it's a job. They really,
but it's hard, right? If there's a product that you believe in, you've been putting your hard work into it, and the main guy has to leave, and a new guy comes in. And again, I do not know if this is the case, but if the new guy comes in and go, everything you guys did was crap, I'm here to save it. Not saying that that's how you approached it. That could rub some people the wrong way.
Yeah, of course.
Not to mention the idea of you signed on towards a vision that you were sold, and now you're under contract with NDAs and everything else. And if that vision that you were sold on to be a part of changes drastically, which it kind of sounds like this did, in terms of what they were trying to do, again, I could see that not being the funnest atmosphere to work under.
Well, and Ray Fisher tweeted too. He was like integrity over industry, I think is what it said. I'll have to go back and look at the tweet, but it's something along those lines. And again, I understand, but that's a big fight to kind of get involved with. I hope it's the right move for his role, because the problem I think with this is you're a director. You're like, well, I'm not going to hire that guy because clearly he doesn't like the way the studios work. I mean, it's really tough. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm just saying.
To me, the biggest issue I still have is he lit a match and kind of walked away. He kind of threw out all the buzzwords and didn't really give anything to say, this is the specifics you need to judge whether or not I'm right or wrong by bringing this forward. Like the only statements that were made was like the one statement about the only issue we remember him having was saying booyah and that kind of stuff that I believe Bird
random
said. But like from my perspective, it's still one of those things of a few things. One, I at least hope they wouldn't strong arm him into saying something like that at Comic-Con in the first place, to then have to retract it, which does not fill me with confidence if he went out there promoting the film and saying Joss was the right guy, and then retracting it to begin with, I have some issues with.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he's saying integrity over industry and all of that, that would have been the time to do it. To do what he had to do to promote the film, he doesn't necessarily have to be like, Joss Whedon came in and was the perfect person to do that. There's no reason why he had to be the one to say that.
Well, I think when you're promoting a movie, I think you're probably given kind of a script, and this is what you go out and say. I don't think he had a lot of choice in that, I would assume. Yeah,
but to me, that's where statements like integrity over industry fall very flat to me.
Yeah. Well, but again, this is I see both sides with this. With his current comment, he's going back and he's like, I played the game and I hated it. I'm calling bullshit. I'm not going to do that anymore. So that's good. But without the context of what was actually going on, there's a huge difference between Whedon's just a really tough director. He came in to clean up a project, and yeah, he probably was an asshole, but what boss isn't? Versus he was like racist and sexist and horrible and like demeaning people constantly. That is a totally different problem. And so what actually happened? So I don't want to see, I mean, I'd defend the hell out of Zack Snyder, but I'll defend Whedon too, because we just don't know, right? And that is the problem. We just don't know.
So I just find it an odd situation, especially because of a lot of the controversy that came out of Justice League in the first place. And a lot of the stuff that I can think of was stuff that seemed fairly set before Whedon got there in terms of changing the Amazon's outfits and like that kind of stuff. There were huge things that people were kind of pointing as issues at that the way the Snyder Cut is kind of taken off and the way a lot of this stuff is taken off. I'm really curious to see where some of this lands, because like right now I kind of feel like it's a really odd thing to be promoting the Snyder Cut this way in a way. Because yes, this does lend to the whole, like, we're finally getting the Snyder Cut. Joss Whedon came in and created this, like, this definitely keeps the conversation going to a degree. Which,
well, this does kind of burn that bridge with Whedon going forward, right? So,
and that's why for me, I kind of feel like, as Toby already said, if these statements could be made even though he was under an NDA and that kind of stuff, or maybe he got a warning because he put out the statements, I don't know, but it feels like not the right way to go about this. Either you get released from the NDA and take it public, or you wait till the NDA is over and take it public. You don't make buzzword accusations that people can then carry forward as evidence for whatever they want to carry it forward as.
Well, I mentioned this on Twitter during some of the stuff with the Comic Legal Defense Fund, which was, NDAs do not protect criminal action. So if it was a case of it being like criminal, that's one thing. Gross abuse of unprofessional and unacceptable. Again, I could just be a really mean boss. There are lines, and he might have got close. I don't know. Good on Ray Fisher for speaking up. I mean, if he really felt there was that, more power to him. I'm not against him saying these things. If he felt that's the situation, he absolutely should speak up about it. I don't think we can draw conclusions because we don't know. We weren't there. We didn't see it, and it's not even his word versus Whedon's. It's a vague statement versus no response. So we can't even compare the two statements.
That's my issue with this in a nutshell. I don't like the vague statement being made public. There's obviously channels that can be done if it was a significant enough issue through, like everything else with discrimination lawsuits, that kind of stuff. They can do internal investigations and do findings and go through certain channels. The fact that this was brought to the public light the way it was, I don't care if this stuff comes public. I do care about buzzwords being used as a weapon.
Yeah.
Well,
And right now, because it's just buzzwords without anything to back it up, that's for me where this falls, is this idea of buzzwords being used as a weapon, because I am more than willing to change my opinion on somebody and that kind of stuff based on evidence. We've had tons of instances with like Ethan Van Sciver and other creators that I really, really liked that as details come out, I can't support them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like statements being made that are kind of meant to shift perception without giving an accurate image of that perception.
I agree.
Well, we haven't talked about the stuff with Gal Gadot in that she didn't want to shoot that scene
Gal
with
Gadot.
the Flash. Gal Gadot.
Gal
She didn't want to
Gadot.
shoot Gal Gadot. Shoot the scene with where Flash falls on top of her. That was a stunt double. She didn't actually shoot that scene.
Okay.
And it mirrors a similar scene that Whedon did in Age of Ultron with Banner and Romanoff.
Okay.
Right. So, and they said that she didn't want to shoot the scene, and Joss just brought in a double to do it because he wanted it done that way. And the thing with Kevin Smith also is in the talking to the other people is it was the trash talking I think that Whedon was doing to Zack Snyder's version or what he was doing in the film.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I think what it is it's one of those things where it's potentially a case of a director's just like, this is my vision, everybody else fucking sucks, right?
Yeah. That's
and that's
again,
the thing is it's difficult
when you're
to
a
work
fixer,
in that.
man.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're brought in by the studio.
Yeah.
But yeah,
there's not much
I
you can
think
do.
it's definitely one of those. I think it's definitely one of those cases where yes, once more stuff comes to light, yes, but as it stands right now, we don't know. But again, it's one of those things where he's being brought in to do his job. Now, whether or not he's doing his job, the way he's doing his job, if there's a problem with that, the studio needs to talk to him about it. If he doesn't want to fix it, then the studio won't hire him again.
Right.
Like,
we'll see if more info comes out about this in the future. Hard to tell. Probably not, but maybe they'll do some. I mean, I could see a like Snyder direct documentary about this whole thing, the whole him leaving. If they want to burn the bridge with Whedon and just have people say exactly what happened. Yeah, maybe we'll see. We'll see what happens. Moving on. Good news and bad news. We'll talk about the good news first. Stargirl picked up for a season 2. Very happy for that. Stargirl's been fantastic. If you haven't been caught up, now here comes the bad news. Well, interesting news, which leads to bad news. Stargirl got renewed for season 2, as it's wrapping up for season 1, and it is now exclusive to the CW. So that, to me, is the final nail in the coffin with the cancellation of DC Daily. Stargirl here now on CW. HBO Max getting Doom Patrol and Harley Quinn. That is the end of original content at DC Universe. So the question now is, we could talk about Stargirl maybe when the finale wraps up for the season. We'll talk more about Stargirl. DC Universe, guys, it's done, huh? What do you think? What do you think they're going to do?
So it's hard to say whether or not it's done. It's still the only thing they have like it to compete with like Marvel Unlimited and that kind of stuff. They have not
the
done
the original content is done. Where do they go next? What is the plan? That's what I'm asking. What do you think?
So I guess what I'm wondering, or I guess what makes me a little, I never really cared that Stargirl was on DC Universe and on the CW. I never really cared that Doom Patrol's on it and on HBO Max, or that Harley Quinn's airing on Sci-Fi now. Like, the more eyes on this content means it's more likely more of this content will be made. So I don't care if it's on 5 platforms, 10 platforms, 2 platforms, doesn't really matter to me. So the fact that it did get picked up by the CW, which did make it more likely to get renewed, and now it has been renewed, is all a win for me. Mm-hmm. It does bother me that we're going to lose the ability to watch it in 4K, because the only place I know of that you could watch it in 4K currently was the DC Universe app.
Now, it could be on CW on Tuesdays, and Wednesdays it's on DC Universe, right, at 4K. I would think moving to CW means we are going to lose the quality of the show. I doubt they'll have the same budget because it's a good-looking show compared to the CW stuff.
Are you kidding me? I think they're getting a bigger budget because more eyes on it.
I don't see that as possible.
You have a far bigger audience than you had on DCU. Actually.
Yeah, but they paid for it before they had an audience, right? The budget of season 1 will not be there on season 2 if it's only on CW.
I think the quality is going to be the same.
So I'm hoping the quality is going to be the same, but I do also feel like a lot of this stuff for streaming platforms gets a larger budget than for advertised TV traditionally.
Correct.
And like even in terms of the other stuff like Swamp Thing we've talked about and Doom Patrol and Titans, and all of those have a pretty high production quality for the number of eyes that would potentially be on them.
Yep.
Because the idea is you get a certain amount of people paying for the service, and that pays for the content directly. It's a very different model. Going to the CW, where technically it's getting more eyes.
But you're on advertising budget.
But you're on advertising budget, and the viewership as it stands right now is good, especially for a summer show. But I don't think it's necessarily like a runaway hit for the network. It's not bringing in a massive amount of more people compared to Flash or Arrow or like the other stuff, as far as I know.
Also, Stargirl has performed. I'll read direct from Hollywood Reporter here. Stargirl has performed solidly in the CW since its debut on May 19th. It averages 1.55 million viewers and a 0.4 rating among adults 18 to 49 after 3 days of delayed viewing, which puts it in the top half of the network's scripted roster for the season. Now, like, they canceled Katie Keene. Dude, when CW cancels a show after one season, you know something's wrong. And that only got one season. So, Stargirl, clearly better than a number of shows.
That statement saying the top half means, yes, it's performing well, but it's not the number one show on the network getting so many more viewers and demographic and like that kind of stuff. And that's basically my point, is there's nothing from that statement to suggest that it will get a larger budget than, say, Flash or Arrow or Supernatural or these other shows.
Wait, wouldn't they be getting Supernatural's budget because it's over?
Well, Supernatural still has the 7 episodes or whatever to air from last season. And then they have the new Walker, Texas Rangers series to capture some of that.
So on the Hollywood Reporter, which was the official breaking of this news here, it says, where was it? Season 2 will debut exclusively on the CW and stream the next day on the network's free ad-supported platform. So on CW's platform. It will still have an SVOD home on HBO Max after the season wraps. So if I had a best case scenario for DC Universe, it's this. DC Universe continues as is, basically no significant change other than no exclusive content. It has all the comic books. Comic books continue to get added. It is the streaming. Everything on it is also available on HBO Max. It is the streaming service. If you want only comic books in this little thing, you're basically paying for the comic books. That's the exclusive service. However, all the Superman, Batman movies, Justice League Unlimited, all these shows, Titans, Stargirl, Arrow, Flash, they all are on this app, the streaming service, just like they are now, or whatever's on here now, right? I mean, I think the CW stuff was not scheduled to come over. Like, if you're on HBO Max, it should be here as well. It's a portal for them to put all the superhero stuff as well as the comics. So your monthly charge of $5 a month is basically for the comic books. The streaming stuff is just the same as what you would get on HBO Max. Now, HBO Max 1 being called HBO Max, 2 taking stuff off when they've put it on, 3 not having like fucking every DC show is insane. You know, I'm obviously Netflix has certain rights to the CW stuff, but like pre-CW, everything should be on HBO Max and DC Universe. They have the comics. You have Stargirl, you have Swamp Thing, you have all the formerly exclusive content is on there. But HBO Max gets the 3rd season of Harley Quinn. It gets the 3rd season of Doom Patrol. It gets the 3rd season of Titans. But they're also on DC Universe because it's the same company. Just put them on both. It doesn't cost anything because it's the same service.
And
that's my hope. That's my hope.
That would be my hope too. And for me, it goes back to what I was saying before. The more eyes on it means the more likely it is to be considered successful.
Exactly.
I guarantee you more people have watched Stargirl than all of the DC shows.
Because it's on CW.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just is because it's available. Like, how many normals are actually going to go out of their way to pay for a subscription
not many.
to watch?
Not many.
Shows, right? Oh, just
well,
it's us.
I know Sci-Fi Channel started running the Harley Quinn as sort of a Adult Swim type.
Yeah. Oh, so I'm sure that's doing well there.
To begin with, to begin with, right? It's literally it was meant for us.
Well,
and that was it. And I have a feeling that they underestimated how much they're actually going to get out of it.
Well, CW is going to run Swamp Thing. That's going to get, 100 times the amount of views on CW as it did on DC Universe, right? Could you imagine...
To a Swamp Thing.
Could you imagine Swamp Thing doing so well for DC Universe or for CW because it's going to come during a massive drought of new material because nothing can film. Imagine Swamp Thing becoming a super big hit on CW, taking kind of that Supernatural spot, and then boom, CW is now renewing a Swamp Thing show. Like, this is not out of the realm of possibility, but I still think they could have these shows. They already have a contract with HBO Max. Again, if it's going to be there afterwards, there's your 4K content, Charlie, right? So it'll be on HBO Max and DC Universe 4K afterwards. Just when
HBO Max gets 4K, which they don't have currently.
Well, the movies, the animated movies, are those 4K on DC Universe?
Not all of them are, but the newer ones have been, yes.
Yeah. It's a matter of time. I mean, HBO Max, they've fucking...
I know. I'm just going to keep on it till they do add 4K because it really bothers me that they launched without it.
They launched without a lot of stuff, but...
I'm aware.
Yeah, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they'll... I kind of expect a name change, too. I don't think it's going to be called HBO Max in a year. I think they fucked up beyond belief. I think they're going to scrub the entire thing and just rename it and just call it like... We were talking about this on Geekbox. I'm like, dude, just call it like the Warner Brothers streaming service or whatever. And everything is just a little subheader under it because nobody has any idea that HBO has Sesame Street. Like, that's not we are not at the HBO has not shed its adult-only nature.
No, and I agree with you that they could definitely get away with the name change or whatnot. But there's also the fact that they have basically been positioning this as part of your HBO subscription, the new HBO app. They're scrubbing the HBO Now and Go app. So if they're going through all this trouble to brand this as the
new HBO,
but it's all
new HBO.
It's all connected. I mean, if they are legitimate about completely changing the perception of HBO, I mean, good luck.
Maybe they're trying to change it to, instead of Warner Brothers Studios, HBO Studios.
I mean, they can, but that is an uphill battle.
Yeah, but I guess my point is, as they're positioning this as more of an HBO subscription that gets you the Warner catalog and everything else as well, they're going to have a hard time transitioning away from the HBO brand since they've made it synonymous with the Max subscription. Like
just
if it was...
just call it like HBO Warner. And then literally just... Max is a meaningless...
I agree. If they just went HBO Warner, that would be fine.
Yeah.
I just don't necessarily think they're going to get away from the HBO considering they've they've made significant steps towards making it synonymous
just,
with that
just
subscription.
Take a cue from Disney. Call it HBO plus Warner, and like you have your plus, you have your Disney Plus, all right? HBO plus Warner. Call it HW, whatever. Like, it doesn't matter. But like, HBO is such a loaded name, that a good name, but not what I think of when I think I'm going to watch. Friends. Oh, we'll load up HBO. Like, what?
No, I don't disagree with you at all on that. The only thing I find funny about your comment about Sesame Street earlier is HBO already had Sesame Street prior to.
I know, but there needs to be that division, because what parent is going to be like, time to turn on Sesame Street on HBO? Again, this could shift over a decade or two of people being okay with HBO becoming this new thing, but not now. They should have been doing this for a lot longer. If it's the perception they want of HBO, it's really tough. It's tough to get away from an not adult only, but a mature audience to then become something that's everything. It's all ages plus adult plus mature content. Like,
no, I agree with you in general. I just find it funny that they had already, prior to HBO Max, they had already started to do stuff that would be away from. They already had the problem. Right. The problem existed prior to launching this new service.
Yeah. But
can I conclude the DCU thing real quick?
Yeah.
So while I think and sadly say it may have been a failed experiment, I feel like the heart was in the right place, and I have to say I did really actually enjoy, not necessarily, well, the shows was a big part of it, but I actually enjoyed their con presence a lot. Like when we did that, boat thing with, Jim Lee doing a secret signing, getting that free breakfast and swag, I thought that was freaking amazing. I mean, I thought that was worth the membership thing alone, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then in New York, they toned it down big time. Like, we got some really cool swag that day on the boat. We got like glasses, cool water bottle, like a nice towel. Like the swag alone was freaking cool.
Yeah.
And then the free breakfast was like not bad. Breakfast was actually fairly solid. It was nice to be in the boat, and then Jim Lee did his secret signing, which was real. Like, everything was like really cool. And then in New York, they tuned it way down, but it was still really awesome. They had an offsite where they rented a building, and they had like a Harley Quinn like offsite where like they plastered the walls with like art from the show and pre-production art and just background on it, and they had like a little snack area instead of full on breakfast. So it was less of a VIP treatment than they did in San Diego Comic-Con, but it was still really really cool. Like, they had props from the movies that you could check out and stuff like that, and had a little social media stuff you could do. But I was like, man, that was really cool. So I kind of hope if they continue DCU that the con experience, or at least that part, sticks around. Or even if they're gonna, because I think they put a lot of money in early on DCU, and I think it just didn't pay back and didn't work out the way they wanted to.
Well, you could still have it connected, right? I mean, it's still a place to get people to subscribe for the comics and to stream all the old stuff, right? I mean, I think there's still value to it.
Well, I just hope that they continue the con experience, and even if they tune it down even some more, which I think they will, or it might be even non-existent by next year or whenever we come back out of.
Well, even if Marvel came out and said, we're going to launch a Marvel Unlimited is the Marvel Comics plus all the TV shows, so WandaVision and we're going to have all the Marvel movies on an app and the old cartoons, there would still be that part of me that says, why don't you just make that part of Disney? Like, that is good for some people, but if you lump it in with everything else, then you're going to get so many more eyes on these. So if they just made DC Universe like a portal of HBO Max, and hell, give the comic books to people that get HBO Max. Shit, way more people reading this stuff, and that's just great for the industry. So, but
to fold it in.
Yeah,
I just hope like some of the con experiences, which a lot of people are not really thinking of when they think of DC.
Right.
go away, which I thought was really amazing for the two big cons
For what
that
they did, yeah.
that
Yeah. Well, they got, I mean, that's part of their budget for this, and obviously they were willing to give it a shot. But yeah, I just don't believe for a second they got.
Yeah.
I mean, Disney got like 20 million subscribers the first week or whatever, something absolutely crazy. Do you think DC even got 1 million?
No.
Do you think they got 500,000?
No, probably.
Yeah, like those aren't numbers that you could survive with. Look, it's not Quibi, but
Quibi is bad. I mean, like out of all the people that when we went to that con, or were you there that first year where they had the full-on DCU? No, you weren't there on that one. I think Charlie was maybe where they had the full-on DCU, right? Where they had like all these different booths, all these different experiences for each show, which I thought was like really cool too. Which kind of they're not going to do that again. But out of all those people that showed up for that, I think only half of them probably signed up.
I mean, I don't know for sure that I would say it would be that small as it is. I mean, yes, I think their subscribership was very high when it launched and then probably went down a bit and just the normal sort of up and down because, yeah, they don't have the content generating stuff. And for a while there, they were really, really sort of fighting to get content on there, and then that even eased off. Because, like, keep in mind, they, like, only put up the first season of Krypton on there and stuff like that. They were trying to figure out what content they could get away with sort of adding on there. They used to put the movies up really, really fast and then scaled that back. So, I mean, since the service launched, I've always kind of felt like there's been a weird sort of give and take within the company, as it were. As in, we kind of talk about Warner Brothers being all one company. Why is it not everywhere? But I kind of feel like it's never worked that way, and I've never understood why that is. I've never understood why Batman couldn't appear in Smallville because they had the movies going on at the time.
I think a lot of that's kind of done. I mean, you're going to have certain people on certain projects, and so characters can kind of get reserved a little bit. But I think that break that they used to have does not exist anymore.
Well, I think it still does to a degree because when you look at a lot of the way stuff is shaping up with HBO Max, like HBO Max was very quick to be like, we're going to be the exclusive home for Batwoman. There's still that divide amongst the DCU app has never had any of the DCU movies on it. It's never had Man of Steel. It's never had Wonder Woman or anything like that. There's always been a weird divide, even though they could technically have that content there. They were holding some of it back for HBO and
I think places. What it is I think Warner Brothers still, to some degree, has that separation of, this is the movie house. Oh, this is the TV house. Oh, this is the comic book house. And then now you're adding in, this is the DC streaming service that now has to talk to the movie house and the TV house and the animated house. And it's all like none of them were talking to each other to begin with. So it seems like, these issues that you see that, you saw where content wasn't in DC Universe that you expected to see in DC Universe. It's kind of the same thing with HBO Max, where it's like there's not the content you expect to see in HBO Max, and even some of the content that's there, they've already pulled it, and it hasn't even been out for 2 months.
So for me, that's in a nutshell where I would like to see things be treated a little bit more as a unified front within Warner Brothers for this stuff. Like, I don't have a problem with what the DC app became. But I feel like it became that because it was a uphill battle in the first place. Like, I don't think the promise of just being able to have all the DC content there sounds great. We all agree with that. We all kind of go, okay, so they can't have the Arrowverse stuff because of Netflix contracts. But once those contracts goes away, there's no reason why they couldn't put it on there. But then you have this new HBO Max service that's like, no, we want the exclusive rights to that, even though they're the same company. And
if you look at HBO Max, you scroll down on HBO Max's user interface and you go down a little bit, it has the distinct different sections. It's got that DC logo on it, and I'm like, that could have easily been just DC Universe. So for people who just want to get DC Universe stuff, they can subscribe to that.
I think it's going to be. I think that is the end game.
But the thing is it's understandable to have all those little things, but if 3 of those things are more than the cost of HBO Max,
no, they sent out an email for people of the DC Universe that said, "Hey, if you want to subscribe to HBO Max, we'll give you like a package deal." That to me is the indicator that this is what they're going to do. If you have HBO Max, cool. You want to add DC Universe on top of it, it's an extra couple bucks. I think that's what they're going to do. Which, again, I get HBO Max for free, so all I have to pay for is DC Universe, and I'm set, and I already have. So, perfect. So, there you go. But I think I would almost bet money that that's what they're going to do. It'll be part of HBO Max, but it'll be an additional fee.
The cycling content that comes around
Hopefully
and you get the spattering of
Hopefully not.
whatever their subheadings are. But if you want the subheadings constantly, you can pay a little bit extra and you get complete access to the catalog for DC.
No, I think it'll just be DC. I think because it's the comics. The comics is the additional fee. That's what it is. It's equivalent to Marvel Universe. It's actually cheaper than Marvel Universe. So I think that's I think that's what it is. The movies, the TV shows will already be on HBO Max, so you're accessing the same info. It's just you have the comics if you get both. That's my guess. We'll see. Yeah. We'll see what happens. We are going to move on from this because we don't know, and it's great to talk about stuff for half an hour that we don't actually know anything about. But when has that ever stopped us in the past? I can tell you something we do know about.
That's a normal podcast.
Speculation is always fun. I can tell you something we do know about, though. We've got more information on the San Diego Comic-Con at home. So this is July 23rd to 26th, coming up very soon. Now, there is a little conflicting info because we were talking about this before the podcast. What I've read is that will be almost no live content. Everything is pre-recorded. Charlie, you seem to have read something a little different. I wanna hear that bit you read about logging in with your con account and everything.
Yeah, from what I was kind of reading today, it sounded like as panels go live and that kind of stuff, you would log in with like your member ID that you have to sign up for to go to Comic-Con, and then you'll be able to watch the panels. And then after there, they will go to YouTube.
I thought this was just gonna be on YouTube, like live. Not live, but
So my assumption at the time was going to be the whole thing about doing like the member ID and that kind of stuff was one. It gives them a way to collect all sorts of people's information who probably have never signed up for Comic-Con in their life and can now for free. And two, I was assuming they were going to do some live content with like a chat to the side where people could ask questions or something like that. Would have been my assumption. I'm going into this, especially doing it that way.
So Ryan, you had linked us to an article before the podcast to kind of get us, up to speed on it. And in it, it's a Bradley Russell article, basically. It says that while there may be live elements to some programming, it's expected that all panels will be filmed ahead of time by studios and networks and submitted in advance. So I think that what Charlie's talking about is probably the live elements to some of it is going to be very heavily connected with, Comic-Con, their website, people signing up, all of that stuff. But a lot of the other stuff is just going to be, stuff that they stream on their platform and then push to YouTube for people to watch, as however they do it. But I think live elements.
There could be Comic-Con. Like there's going to be like a cosplay, like fashion show or something like that, which is clearly going to be live from people's, whatever Zoom calls or whatever. But the panels are not going to be live. I'm pretty sure this is just going to be, they're going to start at 9 a.m. on YouTube, and it's just panels just go straight through the day. They'll have multiple channels because they're going to have a shit ass load of panels, like 300 panels or something like that. Or maybe the panels will only be like 15 minutes. I guess there's no time loading in and out. So maybe they won't, it'll just be a straight play start to finish all day long. But yeah, I don't think, there's not going to be actual talking or Q&As from people, the actors, or anything.
They could potentially do something.
No, I highly doubt it.
with everything pre-recorded, there's no reason to believe that they're all going to be super short because there's also nothing to stop them from uploading multiple panels at once, just like multiple panels go on at con simultaneously. The advantage with this is having it on YouTube and stuff means, guess what? You can watch every panel and not have to pick one or the
But
other.
let's be honest here. If you take out the Q&A and the loading and unloading of rooms from a panel, that kills like 70% of the time of a panel.
I wouldn't say that.
No.
It feels like it. It feels like it.
I've been to plenty of panels where they went, crap, we have only 2 minutes for Q&A.
Yeah.
Well, the banter of not being in the same room together, I can assume means a lot of these panels will be, hey, it's I'm the random director and here's my movie coming up. Cool, we got a question from the fan group on Facebook, and we're really looking forward to this. Here's the trailer. All right, see you guys in 2.5 minutes. And then 3 minutes later, they're like, all right, guys, thanks. Movie's coming out. Hopefully in 2021. We'll see you then. That's the panel. Like,
I think some of the bigger ones may have still like the moderator and have to.
I mean,
some of them have
they could
announced
still
their
do
moderators.
moderation.
yeah, they'll moderate a Zoom call or something like that. But
Yeah.
again, I just can't expect these are going to be like 50-minute things. A couple, sure.
I don't know. I remember when our podcast would actually end under an hour. So
No, never happened. Never happened. So we do have some confirmed panels, and I'll go over some of the bigger ones here. Obviously, Walking Dead,
Yes.
Fear of the Walking Dead, Walking Dead Worlds Beyond. Did that?
I got pushed back.
That never came out yet, right?
I got pushed back. It was supposed to be in April.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, did this actually come out? No, it didn't.
Well, no,
Nothing's come out. Nothing's coming out.
Okay. Winona Earp, that's going to be in the sci-fi panel. And I mean, I'm really surprised that show's still on, but maybe I'll...
following.
Yeah, I know. Have you watched it?
Nope. I only know because of Heroes and Villains that there's a lot of I can't even say it, Earp fans.
Winona Earp?
Yeah, it's the same. I feel like there's some crossover between that and Supernatural.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, but there's a strong fan base.
Because the comic was popular. Not popular, but I mean, I'm aware of it. Maybe I'll check it out. It looks kind of fun. Conversation with Nathan Fillion. So, of course, Nathan Fillion with appearances by Joss Whedon, Alan Tudyk, Gina Torres. Okay, here is a chance that this could be a longer just talk with him randomly about a bunch of stuff, right? So, obviously, that's something that could be maybe longer.
Well, I feel like all of them are going to be long. Like the studio ones, they're just going to go in and out with people.
Yeah.
We have this movie, 15 minutes of talk or 10 minutes of talk at that one, trailer, and the next set of people.
The Simpsons, Stumptown, Disney Plus is a Marvel 616 panel, which is actually the world outside your window. So that's that documentary they had, and I'm sure there'll be more comic stuff. I haven't seen too much comic, like actual comic company info yet. The Hellstrom panel is going to be there. That's the upcoming Hulu show based on the Damien Hellstrom, the Marvel,
the satanic
character.
Marvel stuff.
Yeah. A bunch of other stuff I've never heard of. Archer.
Netflix's Witcher.
Bob's Burger. Yeah, What We Do in the Shadows. I know Bill and Ted is a big one. Toby.
Hell yeah, I'm there. In San Diego. Oh wait, never mind. It's online.
Bill and Ted. Face the Music. They're gonna have the full cast there. What do you think? Okay, I'm gonna let's do a guess here. Do they announce at the panel that Bill and Ted Face the Music will be streaming that night online?
Yeah.
That'd be awesome, but I don't think so.
Was that?
That'd be awesome, but I don't think so.
You don't, because it's not coming out in theaters. There's no way.
Yeah.
I think the panel. I think they're going to announce that it'll be streaming on Apple TV and iTunes, and you buy it for $30 or whatever, and that it'll be available that night. That's my call. That's my call. Bill and Ted. They're going to drop it.
They're better off. They're probably better off.
I think so too.
Probably.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I very pro Bill and Ted, but I think they're better off now.
They're going to pull an Apple. They're going to pull a Nintendo and just drop it and be like, boom.
Yeah. What bumps me out about all of this virtual stuff is that at some of these panels, you used to get swag.
Yeah. You love that swag.
Like, yeah, I mean, like the Bill and Ted, there might have been a cool Bill and Ted T-shirt or print or whatever, or that would have been really cool. Like, I adore my Orphan Black swag that I got from the panels. There's, the Vikings had really good ones. Stuff like they gave you like the horn, the cup horn, the drinking horn, as a swag once. So there's been some cool stuff, man. There's been some cool stuff which I'll miss. But maybe that's what the signing up for will do. Maybe like all the people that watch it while you're supposed to sign up with the portal. Maybe those guys get something mailed to them. Maybe.
Oh, it's possible because, think about all the convention exclusive stuff, right, that people have been making. That shit was made already. All the swag probably already done, right?
And I mean, a lot of that stuff has started getting details about how to buy this convention exclusive, how to buy this convention exclusive.
Yeah.
A bunch of those even showed up in like the new to order Diamond stuff over the last couple of weeks.
Oh yeah, Diamond had all their exclusive stuff that we ordered. It wasn't like wasn't all the Funkos going out to like Target and Walmart and
not only the Funko stuff but the NECA stuff too, which is a complete nightmare. It was never hard. Well, it was not easy to get the stuff, but it was never necessarily a problem as long as you're committed to it. You could basically get your stuff. But now, you have to deal with the bots. You have to deal with, we're in an area full of collectors and nerds, so there's almost no way that me and Charlie could get our shit.
That sucks.
No problems, but yeah.
That's okay. You still haven't mentioned the panel I'm most excited for at this con.
Which one?
The Red Dwarf panel.
Red Dwarf. I didn't actually see that on the list, but yes, I'm very excited for a Red Dwarf panel. So excited for the next season.
Because they're finally putting out Promised Land on BritBox. So part of their announcement that it was coming to BritBox, the very end of it said, and that's not all. To celebrate the transatlantic crossing of the latest special, cast members Chris Berry, Craig Charles, and Robert Llewellyn, and writer-director Doug Naylor will be taking part in a special virtual Q&A panel streamed as part of Comic-Con.
That's awesome.
Which first for Red Dwarf?
Yes. Yes. They have never been to a Comic-Con panel as far as I know.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Yeah.
I have to say, though, I will miss the energy. The energy of some of these panels. Look, some of these panels were a pain in the butt to get into. But, man, there have been some magical panels that, we gotten to enjoy. Like, I still think, like, that Doctor Who one that me and Charlie, Ryan, you were at that one, too, in San Francisco when WonderCon was still in San Francisco.
I didn't go there, but yeah.
Oh, man.
To that panel.
That was a like, I think Neil Gaiman was on that one. Man, that was an amazing panel. Like, there's some panels where it gives you, like, shivers how amazing, how much energy and how much love there is. So that part will be missed. And I hope, like, when we come back out of this pandemic, when all of this is over, that hopefully we get some of that back. But it may be forever changed. It might never recover the same way we used to have it.
You clearly missed my my snarky tweet from this morning. Let me see.
Wait, you did a snarky tweet?
Yeah, I know. It's so unlike me. Where on the Newsarama article it said, in essence, they were talking about there not being, everything just being online. It says, in essence, that removes one of the most appealing things about Comic-Con, the fans. And I had to put the Thor Ragnarok. Is it though? Is he though? Face after that, like, really? The fans, the most appealing part of Comic-Con. I would love Comic-Con with no one else there. Like, just get rid of every person, and it's infinitely better. The fans are the worst part of conventions. Yeah, sure. Big crowd going crazy. Okay, whatever.
Spreading germs.
Ugh, nasty. Lying.
No,
every year we talk about con flu. Every year.
Yeah.
So for me, it's all. If you could cut out the scalpers, if you could cut it, like...
Sure.
I have always kind of felt like, in a random way, as annoying as waiting in line is and that kind of stuff, you're waiting in line with people who care about the material as much as you do. I've had tons of conversations with people in lines over the years that I've enjoyed.
Yeah. So. And with complete strangers.
Yeah.
I mean...
Hey.
Some of them became friends later, too.
I'm just so tired. Yeah. I'm just so tired.
Talking to strangers can get you some pretty cool swag from a Man of Steel movie.
Thinking about conventions makes me so tired.
doesn't like people. I still remember Ryan being fucking bad, not asleep while I was trying to sneak back into the room.
I was trying to get some level of sleep. I was like, Toby, you're bunking with me. Like 9 o'clock. Good night. This is not the end of our movie and TV talk, though. It has been a week of comic book stuff. I mean, this technically is comic book, but it's also very related to movie and TVs. Aliens and Predator are heading to the mouse. Marvel Comics, of course, owned by Walt Disney, and Fox, now owned by Disney. Well, those comic books, Dark Horse loses 2 more as Alien and Predator are heading to Marvel Comics.
I have to say, that one kind of surprised me that they wanted that one back.
I mean, it's just
they want Donny Cates to do a Venom Alien crossover book.
I mean, they license out the kid stuff.
Right.
Like the Disney comic is not done by Disney.
Right. Well,
right? So that's like mind-boggling that they would want Alien and Predator.
So they have this super random company called Joe's Books that I'm 90% sure was formed just to be the Disney license company. And they went out of business. All those books went to Dark Horse.
Ooh. Dark Horse?
So Dark Horse has all the kids' movie stuff. So Aladdin and Frozen and Princess and the Frog and Little Mermaid, all like the modern stuff.
Wasn't IDW or Boom doing like the actual comics, not the like? Well, I'm not gonna call it fake comics, but you know what?
IDW does the European comics released in English for the first time, as well as the comic strips, which is part of its the American Comics Library. Fantagraphics has the Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse, 50s, 60s reprints, the comic book reprints. So they're all over the place, right?
Yeah. Who does Walt Disney and Donald Duck currently?
There is none.
IDW.
The IDW books are reprints of European stuff that's never been released in English before. It is not new material. It's new to us.
That's the best.
Yeah.
That's the best stuff right there.
Well, so Fantagraphics releases like collections of older stuff, and these are more recent. They're not new, but they're more recent than the stuff Fantagraphics has. But yeah, there's already like 6 comic book companies that deal with this. So getting Alien and Predator back, to me, I mean, I think there's one goal here. That's Alien vs. Predator vs. Marvel Universe, and that is a book they want to have on the shelf to sell forever. And I think it'll be a big hit once. But like, the Conan books at Marvel are not selling appreciably better than what they were doing at Dark Horse. They're better, but not by a ton. Star Wars did really well at start, but now it's like, I mean, it's selling more than Dark Horse, but not like 100 times more. It's just a little bit more. Alien and Predator, I think their audience is just fairly limited. Sure, it'll be big for a few issues, but...
Well, the next question is, when are they getting Terminator?
Is Terminator Fox?
I thought so.
I don't know who owns Terminator. No, isn't Terminator?
I think, isn't it back to Cameron with the last movie? Didn't he get the rights?
Is it? Yeah, I don't think Fox owns Terminator. I could be wrong.
I know it got sold more than once. The property got sold literally more than once.
Yeah, moved around. Yeah, maybe it was Fox at one point, but I have no idea who has it now. So they still have the Terminator license. So,
yeah.
But for now, maybe that'll change. I don't know.
I mean, the original one was distributed by Orion, an MGM company.
Yeah,
that was the first one.
Yeah, I don't think it's Fox.
Yeah, but I remember multiple people own it. Like we had the one with the Wrath of the Titans guy. That was a different company.
Yeah.
Then we had a different company for, and I'm saying like the actual people that own the property. A different company with the one Genesis, I think, with the Mother of Dragons one, and then yet another company for the new Cameron one. And I don't know if they just got him back, or it's his company that got the properties back. So I don't know the stories behind it.
But yep, Alien and Predator coming to Marvel, so we'll see what they do. That could be pretty fun.
Yeah, I just super weird. I mean, like I feel like since they already like let everybody else do all the other stuff, that they want to tackle that one. So
yeah,
it says here, and then let's see, where is it? Heard on the rights from, and Skydance could lose the rights, so it's at Skydance right now.
Isn't that JJ's company?
I think so.
No, that's Bad Robot, but
Yeah.
I thought they had maybe. Anyway, who cares, dude?
So
Yeah, everybody can read off the internet.
we have a final story here. We're going to talk about an actual comic book story, and this is a good one if you're a Marvel fan. There were a ton of Marvel comics that were on hiatus, and they had released them digitally. Now, I specifically made this note because I believed these were not going to come out in print. However, I was not 100% sure. I actually didn't even cancel our orders in Comic Hub in our point of sale system because I was not positive because we did not get an official announcement of cancellation. But the vast majority of the books that Marvel had put on hiatus are all coming back to print. Now, these are the lower titles that they have already released digitally. However, the physical copies are coming out. So that includes Ant-Man, Avengers of the Wasteland, Black Cat Strikes, Ghost Spider, Hawkeye Freefall, Revenge of Cosmic Ghost Rider, Valkyrie Jane Foster, Star, Arrow, 2024 Works, Toby.
Hell
You
yeah.
get your final issue. Ravencroft, Sword. Did I say Swordmaster already? No. It's Swordmaster. Yep. So there's a few books like Runaways and some of the new books that were supposed to launch that have not launched yet. But as for right now, those
That
are
new Warriors book.
not yet. New Warrior, all the Champion stuff is on hiatus unless I'm mistaken. I don't think the Champion stuff got put back on the list.
Hashtag Snowflake.
Yeah, so there's still a bunch of stuff. Yeah, it was New Warriors, Champion, Power Pack. To the best of my knowledge, none of that stuff.
So you think DC will follow suit and actually print those last few issues of the books that they just went digital?
Nope. They will not. So that is the good news if you're a fan of those comics. Getting those last couple issues printed is really good. I mean, I would love if they print Supergirl. Now, what is funny, a couple of those books like Ant-Man and one of the others, we actually did get the solicitation for the trade paperback, and I did make the offer to customers that I'd sell them the trade cheaper. So I have already ordered a couple of these books. I'm now going to have to recontact those customers and go, by the way, the single issue is coming out. So if you'd rather get the single,
So
get it that way. So
this week we sold extra copies of that Ravencourt book because I think they announced that they're actually going to finish printing.
Nah, that Raven book has some dumbass speculation on it.
Okay, just checking.
Fucking worthless. We're gonna have a few questions, and then we're gonna get out of here. It's from Stefano. Brock and you can answer this one.
All right.
It says, mind sharing how the day-to-day has been running the shop during COVID-19. I always love hearing shop talk. I'd be interested to hear what daily life is like at the shop right now. I mean, not too different, honestly.
Nah. I'm wiping down counters more and like,
wearing the mask.
Like I handle cash. I'm like
sanitized. Yeah, every time. Yeah.
I go in the back room. I'm like, I wash my hands. Like, I didn't even do anything. I just went in the back room. I'm like, I'll wash my hands. I think the only difference that I really notice is that you see the comic book fans and the readers and all of that, like they're coming in and they're wanting to have that camaraderie again. And we just can't have that long camaraderie where you hang out for hours. And
now there is, they did have a slight adjustment, so we can actually have more people in the store now. So I probably don't need to limit the amount of people we have in the store.
So I'm allowed.
What's that?
I'm allowed finally. I don't have to wait outside.
No. They actually did change that this week for Bay Area, but they could very easily pull that back. So we'll still, we still have to be cautious. We still can't let like infinite people in, but no sales, stuff like that just wouldn't work. But we can have a couple more people in. So the biggest part has been like kind of just watching people. Again, people can't really hang out. Keeping people sort of moving. Having to slightly louder than I might normally subtly tell people that, hey, we actually have people waiting outside, so if you're just browsing, might need to leave. I mean, I don't like saying that, but it's like, sorry, we just can't. And people understand that. I'm like, we just can't have people hanging out. Sorry. And like, I've had some friends or like real, like really, really good regulars that do sort of kind of hang out a little bit, but they're very good and they just leave when new people are coming in or go into the back room or something like that and stay, very socially distant. So, wearing that mask for 8 hours a day sucks, especially when I'm moving boxes around and like huffing around the store doing work. But like, it's fine. Like I wipe my face down a few more times a day. Like I'm always washing my hands anyway, so that's no different.
Yeah. I think I've noticed also that people are buying a lot more comic supplies because they have time to stare at their ugly comic book collections.
We're out of everything. I'm out of all my supplies. Yeah. We have a big reorder coming in. I'm like totally out of everything. It sucks. But yeah, no, I mean, I'm sure some businesses are like totally upended. For us, it's basically it's 90% normal, which is good.
I mean, I haven't really been able to tackle back issues.
Well, that's other
because it's like every day I'm shipping.
Yeah. Well, that's
I'm shipping every single day. It's
more shipping is definitely the biggest.
So
change.
It's
more online orders.
Stefano gets 2 packages a month from us, so it's like but it's on top of the eBay stuff and all that. And I think a lot more people are they're buying stuff online more than they I mean, we ship to San Jose. I mean, there's so many packages that we ship just to San Jose or Cupertino or
we ship
even into Sunnyvale.
I mean, but people, a lot of people still don't want to go out or minimize the amount of time they're up, which is totally fine. Yeah. Question from Alex. He says, "Any thoughts on the Eisner nominations? I don't think you guys touched on it. If you did, and I forgot, apologies. I looked through the Eisner nominations this year, and I was like, well, no need for me to vote because I don't know any of this stuff."
I was going to say, I'm not in it as a new.
No comics conspiracy? Who cares? There was actually a big controversy about the Eisners this year, too, because they had a bunch of people voted, and they pulled the voting site at the last minute and said, something went wrong. Everyone has to vote again. We're going to send out links to creators and industry folks that voted to vote again. And a lot of people weren't getting their new links to vote at the new site. So something happened with the Eisner nomination.
That was last year or
this year? Yeah, it was this year.
Last year, you could have had a chance.
No, I still don't think we would have.
So the system screwed it again, right?
The Eisners, I'm always very disconnected from because it's a lot of independent stuff and a lot of small press stuff that it's kind of outside my interest. But this year particularly, I was like, there's just really no reason for me to vote because I've literally I've heard of most of it, but I'm like, it's just not my stuff. So, which is fine. I mean, the Eisners it's not called the Ryan Higgins Favorite Comic Award. It's something different. It's like,
even though your fucking was Taylor Swift at the one we were at. Like Tom King wins again. Tom King again.
Well,
Tom again.
He's not going to win anything this year. I don't even think he's nominated for anything. But
he was definitely doing his best Taylor Swift impression. That one.
Oh yeah. We picked the right year to go. Picked the right year.
Yeah.
Yep. It's me and Tom King.
You did good of getting nominated.
But I always appreciate seeing what wins the Eisners, just because I usually try to stock most of the winners just to see, because it's a book I've never heard of, it's a book we haven't carried, but it won an award. Let's give it a try. Usually people get a few extra sales on them, so it's always cool. Final question from Max. He says, I just finished Dan Slott's run on Spider-Man over quarantine and was upset when they started to put things back that I really enjoyed from his run. How do you feel about returning to the status quo at the end of long runs? It's always going to happen, man. The status quo.
Yeah, I don't know what I prefer in a way, because on the one hand, I agree. It's odd watching all this stuff suddenly shift back. And there's times when somebody's run ends and they focus on sort of nailing the finale, and then just the first issue of the next run sort of starts out with 2 thought balloons being like, too bad I lost that job, and now I'm back over here.
Well, I don't know, especially the stuff he did with, Peter Parker becoming Mark Zuckerberg or whatever the hell he ended up sort of being there for a minute. It's like, this drastically changes the character forever. How do you put this genie back in the bottle? That's a tough one. But, you know.
Well, I mean, it's like everything else. Continuity is very fluid, and you can't necessarily realistically unring that bell, but at the same time, it's very easy to just kind of go, and he's working as a photographer again, and he's over here doing this.
Yep,
and
that sure sucked. I lost my billions, and now I'm a sad sack again. Yeah. Oh well, wah. Move on. Yeah, exactly. I mean, you just have to hand wave it away. How many times has Oliver Queen lost his company? How many times has Batman lost, Wayne Enterprises or whatever? I mean,
spoilers.
How many times have they blown up the mansion? How many times has they shut down the Daily Planet? Like, I mean, you just kind of.
No, the ones that really get me are when they turn the mansion into Arkham Asylum or something like that. That's what I'm just like.
Yeah, remember that? That was kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, a book like Savage Dragon or some of these independent comics, Walking Dead, they'll never change back. They don't have to. Right?
Yeah.
But the big superhero stuff, will Dick Grayson go back to being Robin? No, probably not. But a lot of those big changes just for the story, they're not gonna stick in the long run. You will eventually get back to those basics.
But it is interesting. I'm trying to think of a good example of this. I mean, you've had like where things was left with Bendis Daredevil going into Brubaker, building on what Bendis did, and then eventually things kind of settled back to the way it was after I think the Wade run things started to kind of cycle back. But it is interesting to see how some things are allowed to evolve for a longer period from creator to creator. And then other things are literally that like, okay, stop. You have to resolve all this, do all this, so you can return it back to this state to hand over to the next creator. It's a very different dynamic to a degree, because I do kind of feel like if you read the Bendis run by itself of Daredevil, you're okay. Like you feel like you got a story there. But I wouldn't necessarily want to say pick up the Brubaker run without reading the Bendis run. So it's an interesting sort of give and take.
Yeah, that's always going to happen. I think that it's just impossible to have a book end, like the Batman Catwoman marriage, right? They could do that, or they could not, and just sort of be like, yeah, that's a cool idea, and we'll sort of acknowledge it, but then maybe just kind of not really talk about it too much.
You're just reaffirming that DC doesn't like people being married.
Well, that could change now with Dan Didio gone. We'll see. Yeah. Well, that is it. We are going to wrap up now, unless anyone has anything else they want to add. Toby, I felt like you had something you wanted to talk about, but I think we got to everything, didn't we?
No, but I'm really, 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 really hungry because I've been waiting to eat till we're done.
Well, go. Just make sure you leave your Zencaster up so I can get your audio file. I'm gonna read.
I probably did have things to say, but at this point, no. I want to go eat. Sorry, guys.
That's all good. That's all good. I got some Patreon.
I had two things I wanted to say real quick.
Go for it.
So have you guys watched Doom Patrol Season 2?
I've seen the first 3.
God, that stuff's so good.
It's really good.
Yeah. First 3 here also.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's the Sex Man episode?
I haven't got to that.
Oh,
I think that's 4, right?
Yeah, that's 4. It's 4. And then, are you guys going to check out Old Guard this weekend on Netflix?
This weekend, no, but I'll get to it eventually. Right. I'm sure. Yeah.
Honestly, I have no clue. I've been watching a bunch of random stuff, so it's equally likely a yes and a no, both at the same time.
Well, I was probably going to check it out because I really enjoyed that Greg Rucka book.
Yeah.
So and it has Charisse Theron in it, and it looks really, really good from what the trailer I saw. So.
Yeah, I've only seen I haven't even seen a trailer for it. I've just seen a little bit about it, but I think it could be neat. Well, we are going to wrap up. Before we do that, though, I have to thank all our high-tier backers. Let's get to those guys. Let's get to our big high-tier backers. We're going to start with Martin. Martin's been a long-time Geekbox listener since episode 1. And is catching up on Geekbox and listening to the Comic Conspiracy podcast as well. So, Martin, I want to thank you. And he has not a shout out for himself, but for his girlfriend, who has who does art extension on Pokemon cards. If you ever see this, where they like draw beyond the card and like it's really cool stuff.
Oh, okay.
She has an Etsy shop at Etsy.com/shop/ try that again. Etsy.com/shop/Lost Ghost Flower. And you can buy her stuff on there. It's also she's also at Lost Ghost Flower on Instagram. So thank you, Martin. Thank you for your support.
Thank you, Martin.
And the rest of our high tier backers: Joe Duff, Andrew Nelson Mendez at Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast. Go check out his podcast. Our good friend Craig Anderson over at CraigPanderson.com. If you are a professional and you want to become an even better professional, just go get some support from Craig. He'll help you out. James Laws, Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum podcast. That's the Social Forum, FOURUM.buzzsprout.com. Jesse Peterson at the Comic Book Matters podcast. It's not a comic book. It's a podcast about comic books, about how they impact us and change our lives. Thank you guys very, very much for your continued support.
Thank you.
As well as, I'm going to go down our list, our $5 backers. If you want to be on this list, just by the first of every month, jump on. Thank you to our good friends, Dennis Jansen, Eddie Moreno, David Safar, Christopher Noyes, Ivan Lescanic, Mark Long, Father Dante, Chris Palaki, Paula Schultz, Brian Morawski, Don Kilson, Andrew Cuscieri, Miles Gakula, David Baroldi, Chris Bunch, Alex McHale, List of the Living Dead. You know, I'm going to get on that list, man. How do you know who's on the Living Dead list? There's a lot of people on that list, especially if you like the Walking Dead world. Tough. Chris Lockhart, Anirban Banerjee, Jack Ildefonso, PJ Ryder, Joe Castorian over at Identity Stunt, Bryce Larson Quotes, Joseph Rodriguez, Robert Lane, Mason Barber, Ames Foster, Stephen Seftia, Brian Wyckoff, Tim Martin, Tyler Willits. Tyler, thank you again for that wonderful care package.
Tyler.
Christopher Haith, Mal V, Zach Johnson, Verum Libertas, Wally Ansari, Timothy O'Brien, Mario Miranda, John Sepp, Double O Evans, Shaken Not Stirred, Jeffrey Hirschman, John Pickett, Tim from Virginia Beach, and Mark Smith. Thank you guys all for all your support.
Thank you.
Patreon.com/comicconspiracy. Of course, you can go over to comicconspiracypodcast.com, geekbox.net, Apple Podcast, and Spotify to find all our previous episodes. Rate and review us if you can. If you're on the YouTubes, you can go to youtube.com/comicsconspiracy and find our audio episodes on there as well. The Comic Conspiracy at geekbox.net if you want to send us a longer question than 280 characters, although who could even type longer than 280 characters? Go to send us an email at thecomiconspiracy at geekbox.net. And our website, comicsconspiracy.biz, is where you can purchase all your physical comic books from us. They still make those, despite what the internet says.
Yeah.
If you want to see what Brock's up to, go to conspiratorbrock.com. Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension, that's Charlie's Doctor Who podcast. And, of course, etsy.com/shop/Leanne Hill Art. That is my wife, Leanne's Etsy store. And leannehill.com is where you can find all her artwork. If you're on Twitter, you should follow all of us. I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Toby is Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity in Chaos. Where are we? And the comic store is Comics Con Store. If you listen to Geekbox this week, you'll hear Leanne talk all spoilers. She's on the Geekbox talking spoilers about Last of Us Part 2 with Justin Haywald. Me and Ryan Scott bow out because Ryan didn't finish it yet. And I didn't play it. And, of course, go check out our good friends over at the Manga Machinations podcast. I've been on there a couple times. If you like that manga, that Japanimation, go check out Manga Machinations. All right.
I have to say, our good friend Dennis is also recommending the Mashal a lot.
Oh, okay.
So I have 2 people now on Mashal and 2 people on Chainsaw Massacre Dude. I probably call it something else, but I call it Chainsaw Massacre Dude. So I probably have to check both out. More and more people recommended it. Eventually, I have to just give in and
do the Mashal. Do it. Cool. Yeah, let me know.
Yeah.
All right. That's all we got. We're going to wrap up, and we'll see everyone next week.